remember attending a meeting a long time ago now, at which Richard Niebuhr of Harvard was one of the speakers. And he was very caustic in what he was saying that day. And the comment was about tradition, because I don't know what we were talking about, but someone was glorifying the concept of tradition. And he said, and I'll never forget the way he said this and what he said. He said, "What is tradition anyway? It's a series of desperate innovations invented to solve intransigent problems. We then institutionalize those innovations and honor them mightily as tradition." Well, I thought, I've never forgotten what he said, and I've never forgotten the way he said it, because I think it's true, but not necessarily true in the way he was trying to present it, but nonetheless, it did stick. And as I talk about the educational tradition of the Woods, I'll leave it to you to assess whether the traditions embodied here are part of our collective past, which guide our collective future, or are more properly thought of merely as desperate innovations that have ultimately become institutionalized, and whether it really makes any difference. Over the last century and a half, as the economy demanded that we expand the number of students that we serve, the Woods is engaged in a variety of desperate innovations. House-to-house recruiting by Sisters of Providence during the Depression. It's in our archives. Developing an English language institute to add Central American women, high school girls, post-high school girls, to our student body, which again was something that happened in my administration. Initiating the women's external degree. Offering a program for single mothers and their children to live on campus in Garin and get their education, and the children in daycare or local schools. The most successful and, interestingly, the only one of those desperate innovations still extant is the Women's External Degree Program, now called the Woods External Degree Program. And it's part of the Woods' central tradition of education now. I mean, no one even questions anymore whether we should have the WED program or not. We have it, people love it, and Woods alumni, there are many of you here now who are part of the Alumni Association. This thrills me, to tell you the truth, because I think that means you really have got what is at the Woods. And there is something at the Woods. Don't ask me to explain what it is, because I never can, and then I get all goofy when I try. We pride ourselves as being one of the earliest colleges in the country to offer this particular kind of degree. Goddard College in Vermont preceded us with this ADP program, Advanced Degree Program. Sister William Ike, who was then Vice President for Academic Affairs, and I visited Goddard in the early 1970s. And we talked for several days with administrators and teachers and students, and then came back, and a year or so later opened our own program based on the tradition of education handed down from Mother Theodore. However, I must say that this program was not simply a result of our commitment to education, but was a result of the desperation I was feeling in the early 1970s. Because if you remember back that far, and some of you may not be old enough to remember that far back, but some of you do, almost every educational and social custom most of us had grown up with and lived through was in a rapid state of change. And does this sound kind of familiar today also? And unless we could harness those changes, which had so carefully been built here, we might no longer survive at St. Mary of the Woods. Therefore, we took a chance and began the WED program. So, was creating that program a part of our tradition, or was it a desperate innovation? Does it really matter? The other desperate innovations I just mentioned died a quiet death. The WED program has continued to flourish.